What's up YouTube, Dal here from Zeph Wargames, and as I did with the King's Court profile the other day, I thought it'd be good to start this profile off with a combo first to show you what the deck can do and its max power play, and then you can watch the list afterwards. So we're going to start off this combo with Chaos Space, Roar, and Nemesis Flag. Now, Nemesis Flag is your direct route into your Arch Nemesis, so that is your very important route. If you take that away, you still have a combo between these two here, but this is the one that gets you into your Arch Nemesis. Between these can be stuff like Allure of Darknesses, and it can also be a Loof Lupine, because that can help extend your board as well. Now, the play behind this is you're going to activate your Chaos Space, you're going to send your Thunder Dragon Roar, and you're going to add a light. Now, obviously, the only light target we have is the only light target you really want, and that is going to be your White Wyvern Buster. You're then going to banish your Roar to summon out your Wyvern Buster, which will trigger both effect of the Roar. So Roar's effect will then trigger to special summon from the deck, and you want to go for your Dark, because once Dark leaves the board, it's then going to trigger an additional effect as well. Now, before you link these two off, just to get an additional monster in the graveyard that will help you for your Chaos plays a little bit later on, you're going to want to make sure you link your Wyvern Buster into your Striker Dragon first. Now, obviously, if you are playing the rest of the Striker Dragon package, you can start using that as well. But from this play, what you're going to do is you're going to trigger the White Wyvern Buster, and that is going to let you add the Black Collapse. The only reason that you'd do it as a link 2 and skip out the Striker Dragon would be to chain block one of the cards. So it's entirely up to you on where you want to go. You want to make sure you banish the Wyvern Buster to summon out your Black Collapse, and then you want to make sure you use Chaos Space to put it back to the bottom of the deck first before you activate, before you link off your Black Collapse Serpent, because you want to make sure that you're going to be able to gain back the Wyvern Buster. You're then going to get the random draw off of the Chaos Space as well. Keeping in mind, if you were to look at the rest of your starting hand, you'd still have 2 more cards as well. Then from this position here, it's entirely up to you on the route you want to go, but I would go Black Collapse first, using that with Striker Dragon in order to put a dragon in the graveyard and go into your Reaperdonkus. Now, for now, you want to keep the zone below Reaperdonkus completely free because you're going to be using that a little bit later on. Use the effect of Black Collapse to search your White Wyvern. Now, obviously, you can't summon it this turn, but you will have the ability of doing this again next turn. Then from this play here, what you want to use is you want to use your Nemesis Flag effect to target the Roar that is currently banished and put that into your deck, and that will then allow you to summon the Flag. Flag's effect will then go off to let you search out an Arch Nemesis, which you're going to add gracefully to your hand. Nice and easy. Then what you need to make sure you do is you want to use your Flag plus your Thunder Dragon Dark, and you want to go into a Cerberus. Now, it's very important that you go into Cerberus. It is co-linked, so should you want to try and destroy something, if you had it additional board, you could do. But obviously, because we're going first, this is the route we're going to play. You're then going to use the effect of Dark, and Dark is going to allow you to search you out your Hawk, which is going to give you an additional body on the board, so keep that in mind as well. Wherever Hawk is. I bet Hawk is in my hand. Yeah, there we go. So we're going to add Hawk to our hand. We'll just make this another random card. Absolutely fine. So you've replenished your hand quite a bit. You're going to use Hawk's effect because you want to get an additional monster on the board, and that is going to be your Thunder Dragon Dart. Now, you don't need to use it right away. You can save it. It's entirely up to you because Hawk can bring back from the Banish Zone as well. It doesn't really make much of a difference. You're then going to use your Arch Nemesis, and your Arch Nemesis is going to be banishing a Thunder, a Pyro, and a Dragon. So we'll banish the Striker Dragon on this one and summon down your Arch Nemesis. Now, one thing that I did miss is that when you summon Cerberus to Reaperdonkus' zone, that is when Reaperdonkus triggers its effect to change Cerberus' attribute or type. So you want to make sure you change this at the point of summon to anything that you want it to be that you know your opponent is playing, and that is also a way of chain blocking some of your cards as well. You'll then use the Arch Nemesis effect to call that declared type, and as long as it's not Thunder, you're going to be absolutely fine because co-linked link monsters can't be destroyed by card effect. So whatever it is, the Arch Nemesis will attempt to destroy and then lock your opponent out of it because that's what Cerberus would have become. Then from this point on, it's entirely up to you on the routes that you want to go. If you want to go max potential, now that you've locked your opponent out, you would link both the Arch Nemesis and the Thunder Dragon and go into an IP Masquerena. You would then overpay by using Reaperdonkus and the Cerberus and go into your Verte Anaconda. You would then use Verte Anaconda's effect to pay the 2,000 life points, send Red Eyes Fusion, and obviously Dark Magician to the graveyard to summon out your Dragoon. Now, throughout the entire hand replenishment, and keeping in mind that this was our starting hand, you've been able to draw one random card, and you've been able to add back the Wyvern Buster. So you've only really exhausted one card to build this board. During your opponent's turn, what you can do is you trigger IP Masquerena with your Verte Anaconda, and if you do this early enough, hopefully your opponent doesn't have Super Poly, it gives you a 2 negate Appaloosa. Now, off of the back of that, your opponent is not going to be able to summon a particular type or a particular attribute of monster that you have called using your Arch Nemesis. Your graveyard is full of lights and darks and different attributes should you want to try and resummon any of your Chaos monsters, plus you've got the additional 3 cards in your hand. So if any of those were a Chaos monster, like a Chaos Creator, you could have extended further or gone into Levianeer to rip one from your opponent's hand. You've definitely got easy discard fodder for your Dragoon to make sure that you're always going to be able to negate something. And then just during your next turn, if your opponent hasn't cleared this board off, Appaloosa is still going to have 2 negates. Dragoon is going to be on 4k because you've probably negated at some point. Not to mention Dragoon is going to have 2 pops and burn. And then if you're able to extend any further, especially with the White Wyvern Buster, just to put at least a 1700 on the board, you're pretty much going to lead into an OTK game should they not be able to clear your board off. Obviously, another alternative, should you not want to go into Appaloosa, is the Zero Boros, and as long as you can trigger it, you will be able to banish the board, but you will be sacrificing your Dragoon for that particular play. Anyway, now let's jump straight into the profile and show you everything that this has to offer. So I will show you a couple of different alternative engines that you can add into this deck, whether you want to change it from being more control go first, whether you want to be more out and out aggressive, or whether you want to balance it out a little bit more. This is the out and out aggressive version of the deck, so we are playing triple Thunder Dragon, triple Thunder Dragon Dark, triple Thunder Dragon Raw, and the single Thunder Dragon Hawk. Now, the ratios are working perfectly fine for me at the moment. Please adapt them to your personal playstyle. The reason you're going with 3, 3, 3, and 1 is the Hawk effect to discard is something you're going to be doing less and less, or the whole reshuffle. The idea behind this combo is that you're going to be able to get Raw out of the deck by banishing it. So banishing it gets its effect to special summon out Dark. Dark is then going to be linked off to give you Hawk. Hawk is then going to be discarded to give you the add back. Everything else from Hawk is going to be a bit of a brick, and you're going to be able to reshuffle it with Thunder Dragon Fusion as consistently and as easily as you possibly want. So Hawk is the one you're going to want the least of, whereas both Dark and Raw, coming off of a Law or anything along those lines, just give you additional advantage, and they're cards you actually want to see in your hand, whereas Hawk is a component that you want to search throughout the combo. Then for the rest of the cards, we've got double Matrix, triple Lupine, and double Batteryman Solar. So these are the main normal summons of the deck. You don't really want to summon Matrix, but the idea behind it is if you do have it, you can normal summon 1 copy, link it off, give yourself a second copy of it. You've also got the quick effect in hand, so you can trigger off your Titan as well, should you need to. Lupine is your best normal summon because specifically when it is normal summoned, you banish a monster from your hand. So as long as the summon is successful, you trigger that effect. That is when your opponent then tries to interrupt, and that's where you give yourself the ability to make chain links. Because the idea is, off of Lupine, you would banish as cost Thunder Dragon Raw. Your opponent will then say that's fine to resolve. You resolve Lupine's effect by banishing another monster of the same type from your deck. So this allows you to then, of course, banish Dark should you wish to, or of course you can banish anything else as long as it is a Thunder. So you've got an option to banish Matrix to give you a copy of itself. You've got the option to banish Dark to give you a search of Hawk. You've got the option of Hawk to banish and shuffle your hand. So this gives you the ability to banish both of these, and then on a separate chain you then get to go, cool, chain link 1 of Raw, chain link 2 of Hawk, or of course Dark to chain block, and that then allows you to continue your combos uninterrupted. Batteryman, of course, does have that other effect that if it is normal summoned, you get to, normal or special, you get to dump a Thunder monster from your deck to the graveyard, which is great for your Chaos plays, because then you're putting either a Light or a Dark into the graveyard. Off of the back of that, if you do summon a Fusion monster, you do get to get a free Fusion summon, or a Thunder summon token. That can then be used as link material for any of the monsters to kind of help you links climb higher. Obviously, the token doesn't hit the graveyard, which can be a bit of an issue when you're trying to make your Chaos plays, but of course it does give you easy fodder to link climb higher. Then my favourite engine of this entire deck is of course the Nemesis engine. So we are playing triple flag and the one corridor still. There are a lot of times when I'm like, I really want to take corridor out, but on those chances where you do open up your arch nemesis, you can choose to use flag's effect to give you corridor, which gives you a free extender and a free ability to reshuffle some of your banished materials. So obviously flag, you target, or both of these, you target one of your banished monsters, accept themselves, and special summon this card from hand, and then if you do, you shuffle the targeted card back into the deck. So the best thing about that is you regain resource. It's a shame that it specifically targets monsters. If you could recycle any of your banished stuff, it would be amazing, but still incredibly good. Obviously, Corridor allows you to target one of your banished Nemesis monsters, so it can even target your Arch Nemesis and add it back to your hand, which is really kind of cool. And that's where Protoss comes in a little bit above this one, because if you do activate a Law and banish it, then you can add it back. But because this is a light, it's a little bit more difficult to even resolve that effect. Flag lets you add a Nemesis monster, so it can add Corridor as an extender, or of course it does add Arch Nemesis, so this can then be your end board. So this is one of your boss monsters you want to kind of end your board on, or preemptively end your board on, because between Protoss and this one, you're pretty much able to shut your opponent down as long as you know either what type they're playing or what attribute they're playing, and you do have the ability with your extra deck in order to kind of change the attribute of your Arch Nemesis. Keeping in mind as well that your Arch Nemesis, so we might as well talk about it while we're on this. So with this one, you need to banish different types. So Thunder, Pyro, Beast, anything in order to get this one out. Protoss is lights, darks, fires, you name it. So when you do get your Arch Nemesis on board, both of them share the exact same effect, but they can't be destroyed by card effect. You declare one monster type with this one attribute with the other one, and destroy all monsters on the field with that type. Until the end of the next turn, neither player can special summon monsters with that declared type. Now obviously the idea is that you are going to be using, in previous ones, your Reaper Donkus, because Reaper Donkus can then change what the Arch Nemesis is. So it can change either its type or its attribute, meaning that as long as you know what your opponent's playing, or you know a core card that your opponent can't play without, you can claim it, destroy it, and go from there. Now going second, obviously this is a board wipe. Going first, it doesn't need to destroy. You just need to be able to activate the effect. Now, because the Arch Nemesis would become whatever you change it to, so Beast, Beast Warrior, or anything like that, it would attempt to destroy itself, but because it can't be destroyed by card effects outright, it doesn't get destroyed, yet the lockdown effect still applies, meaning that your opponent cannot activate, cannot summon that particular type that you call. So if you were to call Beast Warrior, or Winged Beast, or anything along those lines, you can really hurt the Tri-Brigade matchup. If you call Machines, you can really hurt the Drytron matchup, because they're just not going to be able to play. And that's where it's a little bit better. Obviously, the Tri-Brigade matchup is the more difficult of the two because they play so many different beasts, Beast Warriors, Winged Beasts, Machines, you name it. But at least with the Arch Nemesis, you're able to slow them down and take away some of their components. You're then obviously going to try and back this up with a Titan or some form of other interruption in IP Masquerena in order to disrupt your opponent further. For your Chaos monsters, we are playing two Chaos boss monsters in the form of Levianeer and Creator, purely because both these cards are good going first and second. Levianeer can be a free extender by reviving one from the grave, but it can also either destroy two cards on the field non-target, or rip one from your opponent's hand. Chaos Creator gives you the ability to target 3 of your banished monsters with different names, shuffle them into the deck, but you get to revive one of them. That does also include your Link monsters, so should you be making Link monsters as you climb up to resolve your Arch Nemesis play, you can banish them, and there has been times when I've banished a Unicorn and used Creator to bring it back, because straight away I've got a free Link free on board, so I can easily get into access code or another one of my boss Link monsters should I need to. The last Chaos monsters are, of course, the Black Collapse and the White Wyvern Buster. These cards are insane in this deck. There are times when you open up only these, and that's where Striker Dragon comes into play, because obviously off of these you can link one into Striker Dragon, get the other one, special summon the other one, link the two, and go into a link 2 straight away. That allows you to extend your board further forward, and it also gives you the fallback. Now, the next cards I'm going to show you are the flex spots, and what I mean by this is, with these 3 cards in this deck, this is a exact 40 card deck, but I will show you a couple of alternative engines at the end of the profile for what you can put in order to swap them around. This is just gone with the most basic kind of fallback plan, and that is of course the Red Ice Fusion, Red Ice Dragoon package. Now, the reason we've got this as a fallback is the deck can play so much. Like, it banishes so much, it pushes through plays so much. If your opponent tries to stop you banishing, as long as you get extenders, you can fall back on Dragoon. You don't mind discarding cards. You're putting a spellcaster and a dragon in the graveyard as well. So you're pretty much setting up everything you need. So it is a massive fallback. It is very basic. This is nothing too special. If you want to be a little bit different and a little bit special, the other engines that I advise you putting in is you can go for the more balanced. I'll show you the rest of the deck in a second, actually. You can go for the more balanced engine and bump it up to 45, and you go with stuff like droplets, ash blossoms, talent, so you've got more breaking boards, playing through hand traps, and just general disruption. The spicy inclusion that I think is one of the better options to be more control based is the Dogmatica package. And the reason this is so good is because you don't mind being locked out of your extra deck once you set up your big boss plays. So you would be playing something like the Philidius, 1 Maximus, 2 Ecclesia, and then obviously triple Nadir, and then you're going for the 1 Schism. Now, alternatively, this does bump this up to a 45 card deck, and you can either do Punishment or Philidius, depending on which one you want to go for. But the idea behind this is you're backing your board up of a Arch Nemesis, which is pretty much saying to your opponent, no, you can't play this particular type, and backing it up with a window that says, right, okay, now you can only special summon once, backed up by a Philidius to negate, not to mention a Maximus that can have the ability to pop should you send an Atis. And if you were to add punishment to this mix, again, because your board and your Thunder Dragons are all actually fairly decent boss monsters. So like you look at Raw, it's a 2400 beta. If you're able to get that on the board, you can do some serious damage. And when you're backing it up with stuff like Chaos Creator, Levianeer, and then of course your Arch Nemesis, you're able to flood the board with very powerful monsters that if you're saying to your opponent you can't summon this particular type or attribute, and then you're saying you can only special summon once, and I've got punishment to deal with 2 of your cards, I'm going to OTK you the next turn. So the idea behind the Dogmatica package is it's just a way of giving you a backup so that you don't instantly lose to Dark Ruler no more. It gives you a bit more of a spicy edge as well, because you're able to go, right, okay, cool, here's my Schism. My Nadir is going to be able to set up my graveyard by putting lights and darks. Keeping in mind that these lock you out of the extra deck. It doesn't lock you out of the main deck. So if you're putting cards into your extra deck that are going to be utilised when you banish them with Chaos Creator, or you can utilise them when you banish them with your Levianeer to help consistently get out your Arch Nemesis, you're just going to be able to considerably increase your rate of bringing out your bigger Chaos boss monsters. Moving on with the rest of the deck as it currently stands, we are playing triple Chaos Space. Love this card. Triple Allure of Darkness, again, love this card. Being able to banish Raw off of the back of this is just as good as banishing Tragedy from the Despias. You just gain an additional advantage. Double Thunder Dragon Fusion, considered cutting this to 1 at some point, but then there are times when you're like, if you open this up, it means that your Dark can search you out your Hawk, which means you've got more extension plays, and then you set up your Thunder Dragon Fusion. So not only do you go with an Arch Nemesis to shut your opponent out, but you then back that up with, of course, a Titan, that as long as you've got a Dark or a Matrix in the hand, you're able to start clearing off your opponent's board and add additional interruption. The final 3 cards are the 1 Reasoning, 1 Gold Sark, and the 1 Foolish Burial. Foolish Burial to set up your Chaos plays, Gold Sark to pretty much banish Raw or Dark or anything like that to set up your searching plays and consistency, and then Reasoning because you play a lot of different levels, and even the ones that can't be normal summoned or set, or can't be special summoned except by a certain way, don't mind being banished because you can banish them with the other Chaos monsters and spin them back. You play a lot of different levels from 1s, 4s, 2s, all the way up to 11s, and being able to go through Reasoning is absolutely fine. So then moving on to the extra deck, like I said, this is the basic engine. This is the as strong as you possibly want it to be. You want to win by all means accountable, and this is where we're going with the single Striker Dragon. So like I explained with this one, sometimes you need to turn your White Wyvern or your Black Collapse into a Striker Dragon to then get their effects off. You can, if you want to, and I have seen it in the past, you can play Tracer Dragon and the Field Spell, and by doing so it just gives you a tuner, which then means you can put the level 8 Chaos Monster into the extra deck, which lets you excavate a light or dark. Reaper-Donkus is your most important link monster. It's generic because it just requires 2 monsters, and all you need to do is be able to put your Arch Nemesis below this, and then you can change its attribute or type, and that will then allow you to trigger to shut your opponent down for the turn. IP Masquerena, incredibly important, so once you've made all of your plays, apart from the Reaper-Donkus, because obviously it's a link monster, you can even get rid of your Arch Nemesis now that you've used its effect, make an IP Masquerena, and then it means during your opponent's turn you can go into a 2-negate Appaloosa, or you can go into a Topologic Zero Boris to kind of give you an alternative boss monster that can cause your opponent a lot of issues. Because you have the ability of constantly summoning, don't mind discarding. The best kind of engine to help this out with is of course the Nightmare package, because discarding, climbing higher, if you co-link these, you're even better because you're getting to get draws off the back of them. And then ideally what you're going to do is you're going to climb into your access code. Your access code is going to have a Dark, a Fire and an Earth in the grave. You've got 3 non-target pops, you've got a bonus of 3,000 attack points as well, and you're good to go from there. Your defensive link 4 will be obviously Appaloosa, and your alternative link 4 to mate during your opponent's turn with IP will be Zero Boros, and that can really cause them some issues, not to mention if you have the ability to trigger it yourself as well. Then in this particular version, we are also running a Boral Sword. I think we've got a lot of boss monsters in this, so you could arguably cut this down for a Link Karibo or cut it down for a second IP Masquerena between these 2 cards here. Speaking of which, you've got the one Relinquish Anima, because sometimes you do need to just turn Matrix into Anima, and if people don't expect this and get lazy with their placements, Anima can actually really cause a lot of issues by stealing one of your opponent's monsters. And then of course we've got the 2 Thunder Dragon Titans. 2 is more than enough. You can put a 3rd in depending on the type of build you're going with, but you should only ever need to go through 2 at maximum, because the first one can shuffle the other one back into the extra deck. And then finally, we are playing the Dragoon package. Very basic, like I said. But the other thing with Verte is it can send you the Thunder Dragon Fusion, which can be very, very nice to help get you into your Titan. So it does give you another route that way. But the Dragoon is just such a powerful card right now that if you are choosing to win at all costs, then you kind of need to be playing this card if you have the ability of doing it. And being able to bury the board as much as you can as well also means you don't need to worry about opening up your bricks as much. Plus, they do become easy banish fodder for your arch nemesis in order to let you go that little bit further as well. And that is it, guys. Very straightforward and simple with the profile. The deck is incredibly powerful. The whole idea behind it is that it just continues to go. It continues to summon. It continues to banish. Yes, it does get shut down by the exact same thing that shuts down your Tri-Brigade right now with Lanciers. But if you're able to play through that, or if you're able to kind of back up, which is why Verte is so important, then you're able to continue your plays. You're able to get you to your end board, and you're also able to pretty much win the game where at all you need to. And the Arch Nemesis puts in so much work to shut your opponent down once you know what they're playing. Taking away their core card means it's going to be even harder for them to try and build a board presence and build a game state against you. Anyway, thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, share. Till next time, as absolutely always, stay safe. And of course, happy dueling.